Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityurma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat. Lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness to light. Lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Good morning. I usually start off by saying, what a sunny day in Hollywood, another sunny day in Hollywood, and it was not sunny this morning. So I was wondering at breakfast table, what am I going to say? And one of the monks said, give it time. And look, it's sunny again. So yes, another sunny day in Hollywood. And what a wonderful song. I didn't believe the song actually existed. It's exactly what I'm going to speak about. But no wonder, I heard the Swami just wrote it. So seeing action in inaction and inaction in action. The subject today is the language of paradox in non-dual philosophy, in Advaita Vedanta. The language of paradox. If you recall, last month we were speaking about the self within, the light within. And the student goes to the teacher and asks, basically, who am I? What am I? What is this luminous thing within me which illumines my thoughts, which illumines my seeing, hearing, speaking? What light is there within each of us? There is a question, a good question, and we dwelt on how good the question was. But today, I want to draw your attention to something else entirely. The answer given by the teacher and a peculiar feature of that answer. You know what the teacher said? The teacher said, what you are looking for, the answer to your question, the reality about yourself is, Anyadeva tadviditad aviditad adhi. He says, what you're looking for is something quite different from anything that you know. It's quite different from anything that you know. Okay, so it's unknown. That's why I'm asking you. He says, no, it's quite different from anything that is unknown. It's different from the known and it's different from the unknown. What a strange way of speaking. And it goes on like this. And finally, the teacher asks the student, so have you understood? And the student says, I have understood. And the teacher comes back it comes down upon him like a ton of bricks and says, Yadi manyase suvedeti. If you think you have understood very little indeed. You have not understood. So, you think well about it. You think about it again, what I have told you. Then come back with an answer. It's very difficult. If the student says, I have not understood, the teacher says, you're dumb, you don't get it. If you say you have understood, the teacher says you are worse than dumb. You have just completely misunderstood. What does the student do? Well, the student is as good as the teacher. And he gives it back to the teacher, what he gives as good as he gets. The next verse, the student says, Naham manye suvedeti, nona vedeti vedacha, yonas tadveda nona vedeti vedacha. He says, what does it mean? He says, I have understood, but it is not that I know it. It's not that I do not know it. I know it. And among us, and the students, all the other students you can imagine, they're all looking at each other. The teacher was crazy, now he's crazy too. And the student who is giving this answer says, those students among us who understand this, what I just said, that I do not know it and I know it, and this is how it should be known, what we really are. They really know. And you can imagine the puzzled looks of the students. They are all looking at each other's faces and at the teacher, and I think they are shrugging, sort of. And the teacher is happy. He says he's got it, and he explains. He tries to clarify. Yasya matam tasya matam matam yasya na vedasa avijñātam vijānatam vijñātam avijānatam. What does it mean? Well, don't hold your breath. It's more of the same. He says, those who think that I have known it, they have not known it. For it is known to those who do not know, and it is unknown to those who know. As if that makes it any clearer. The language of paradox. Why is he speaking in riddles? And it's not just here. In the Bhagavad Gita, the song referred to a verse in the Bhagavad Gita. You see, before I go to that, let me tell you something. If the subject of today's talk sounds rather academic, the language of paradox in Advaita Vedanta, the reason it sounds academic is that it is the very good reason, because it is academic, because it is from a paper I presented in an academic conference in London last year. It was a conference on the Gita at the Nehru House in London last year, and I presented this as a paper amongst professors of religion, of philosophy. So it has some academic DNA in it, this talk. That's why it sounds like that. Now the talk I presented there was about the Gita. You find this kind of paradoxical statements in the Bhagavad Gita. What happens there is, Krishna says to Arjuna that there is a secret to be understood about action, about the work that we do, about whatever we do in life. There is a secret to it. You have to understand what is action, and what is work, and what is not work, what is action, and what is inaction. There's something to be understood about that. Krishna says this to Arjuna. And Arjuna thinks, what is there to be understood? It's simple. When you are acting, it is action. When you don't do anything, it's inaction. That's simple. And Krishna comes back with this. You see, there is a mystery to it, because he says, Yah karmani akarma yah pashyet akarmani cha karmaya sa buddhiman manushyeshu sa yogi sa kritsna karmakrit. He says, the one who perceives inaction in action and action in inaction, such a person is wise. He is truly wise. And he is the doer of all actions. More of the same. Paradox. Why? Why do they use this language? And it's not just in the Gita or the Upanishads. Even Jesus Christ gets into the action. He says, those who seek to save their own lives shall lose it. Those who give up their lives for my sake shall gain immortal life. Now how strange. If you try to save yourself, you lose your life. If you do not try to save yourself, you gain immortal life. What does that mean? Why do they speak in this way? And it's full of it. Upanishads, Isha Upanishad, Anoraniyan, Mahato Mahiyan, smaller than the smallest, greater than the greatest. They're referring to one and it's the same thing. It's smaller than the smallest and greater than the greatest. Tadejati tannejati. It moves and it does not move. Taddure tadvantike. It is very, very far away from us, and it's the closest of the close to us. But how can you speak like this? What does it mean after all? It sounds profound, it sounds particularly clever, but does it mean anything at all? So that's one thing we will explore this morning. Why do they use this paradoxical language? And what does it mean? That's one. The second thing is, you might have noticed when you speak about Vedanta, when you study Vedanta, one thing is often you come across that you cannot express the Atman or Brahman in language. It's beyond language. It cannot be expressed in words. This is something that we are told again and again. When we sing the hymns and at the Vesper in the evening, one of the things we sing to the Lord is Vakya Manatita. Lord, thou art beyond speech and beyond thought. Beyond speech and thought. Vakya Manatita, beyond language. The ultimate reality is supposed to be beyond language. And it's not just in Vedanta. In fact, in just about every religion, there will be some description of the Lord where they say that you cannot be described. The mystery, they'll call it a mystery. They'll call it beyond human language. So, that is one thing we find again and again, that the ultimate reality is supposed to be beyond language. But why? Let's be like those little children, they'll ask why, and you give an explanation, they'll ask why. And then very soon you realize that there's no end to that. Whatever you say, that kid is going to ask why, and you have to make him or her shut up and say, that's the way it is. So let's be like that kid, and I say, what is God? And they ultimately tell us it cannot be expressed in language. Let's ask why? Why not? Why can't it be expressed in language? Why can't you talk about Brahman, Atman, God in language? Why can't you do that? Let's ask that. And finally, let's ask one more question. What good does it do us? All of this. To understand all of this, how does it help us spiritually? How does it give us spiritual insight? So 3 questions. This is the task we have set for ourselves this morning. The first task is, why the language of paradox? Why such strange language? Why do they speak in riddles? I mean, it sounds cool to speak like that, but why? What does it mean? That's number 1. Number 2, why can't you speak about God in language? Why is God or Brahman or Atman supposed to be beyond language? You could come here. There's space here. So why is it supposed to be beyond language? And number 3, how does it help us spiritually to understand these things? So these are the 3 questions. Now let's start with the second one first. Brahman is supposed to be beyond expression. The great philosopher Wittgenstein, he's supposed to be probably the greatest figure in philosophy in the 20th century. More and more as years go by, his importance is increasing. Ludwig Wittgenstein. And one of his books is called the Tractatus Logico-Philosophicus. The first of his books, actually. He has written only 2 books. So it's a very slim volume, and all of it is in numbered prepositions. 1, 1.1, 1.2, 1.2.1, like that. And the very first proposition is, the limits of the world are the limits of language. The limits of language are the limits of the world. Whatever exists can be expressed in language, whatever is in the world. Whatever is beyond cannot be expressed in language. So that's the first proposition. I'm expanding on it, but the first proposition, very terse. Each of those propositions are very, very terse. First proposition. And the last proposition, and the book ends with this. What lies beyond language is the mystical. What lies beyond language, we must pass over in silence. What does that mean? Anyway, he uses this. It's very interesting. And we'll see how relevant it is when we go back 1,400 years to seek an answer to this question. Why can we not talk about the highest spiritual reality in language? Don't just go out and order the book from Amazon. It won't do you much good. You can. It will increase their sales, but it's extraordinarily difficult. When Wittgenstein was invited by Bertrand Russell to teach in Cambridge University, they said that first of all you have to get a PhD, because otherwise you cannot teach in Cambridge University. And Wittgenstein was not willing to get a PhD. So Bertrand Russell said, you already have this profound book. You submit it as a PhD thesis and we will pass it. I'll get it through. So you'll get a doctorate and you don't have to bother about it. Then you can teach. We want you to teach in Cambridge University. So the PhD examination of Wittgenstein, the story is very interesting. The examiners for a PhD thesis, imagine who are the examiners. Bertrand Russell is the examiner. It's already fixed. And the other examiner, those who are in philosophy know this name, is G.E. Moore. G.E. Moore, another one of Bertrand Russell's senior contemporary, one of the great names of English philosophy. So these two are the PhD examiners. Imagine the examination. And the student is Wittgenstein. They started chatting to each other. After some time, Moore said to Russell, Bertie, don't you think we should ask him some questions? He said, all right. They opened that book, Tractatus. They opened that book at a page and said, explain this. this statement. Wittgenstein said something, Bertrand Russell said something, they started quarreling over it. And then student, Wittgenstein, he stands up. He pats the examiners on their back, the Cambridge dons on their back, and says, "Give it up, boys, you'll never get it." And he walks out. And they give him the PhD there and then. You've got a PhD. He says, "Give it up, boys, you'll never get it." But we'll try to understand. And we'll bring the light of Shankaracharya's commentary to bear on this problem. 1,400 years ago in India, Shankaracharya, who was 16 years old, if you go by the legends, he wrote his commentaries, and in the commentary on the Mandukya Upanishad, where Brahman, the ultimate reality, Brahman is supposed to be beyond words, beyond language, he explains why. Why is the ultimate reality, God, Brahman, Atman, beyond language? He goes about in this way. So follow me carefully. It's very interesting. He says, let us first consider where can we use language. And he says there are 5 factors which enable us to use language. 5 factors. What are they? I'll explain each one, but let me just give you the names first. Jati, class or species, number 1. Guna, quality. Kriya, function or action. Sambandha, relationship. Rudi, convention. Jati, guna, kriya, sambandha, rudi. What are these? Let me explain. He says if any one of them is present, you can use language. If any one of them is present, you can use language. What is jati? A class. So he says you can call an animal a cow because there is a class of cows and species of cows, and they have certain characteristics in common. So if you see an individual animal with those characteristics, you say that animal belongs to this class of animals called cow. So you say it's a cow. Jati, species or class characteristic. Now you cannot use this for Brahman, for God or the Atman, the ultimate reality. There is no species of God. There is no jati of Brahman or the ultimate reality. There is no class, no set of ultimate realities. So you cannot, it does not have a set characteristic, a class characteristic or a species characteristic. So you cannot use that. Second, guna, quality. So if I say the red flower, bring the red flower, and you go there and you see a lot of flowers and you see the red flower, and that the color, the red color enables you to understand what I am speaking about. Because there is a quality which distinguishes it from other things. So quality, guna. And again here is a problem. Because as we know, we have been reading Vedanta so long, nirgunam, qualityless, beyond all qualities. The ultimate reality is transcendent, beyond all qualities. If it is beyond all qualities, you cannot use a quality to indicate, bring me the red Brahman. No, you cannot. Because it's not red. All right, function, action. The speaker, if you say the speaker, immediately it refers to this person. Because the function he is doing is speaking. Call the driver of so-and-so car, his car is going to be towed. You make an announcement and you know, okay, I am that person because you are the driver. The function which you perform is driving. So by a function, you can be indicated. You can be pointed out by function. The cook, who's the cook today? So the function, you can point out that person. But Brahman, as we know, we have been studying Vedanta, Brahman is lazy. It does not perform any function. Beyond action, beyond any action. Nishkriyam, Brahman is beyond action. It doesn't have a to-do list. So beyond action. All right, sambandha, relationship. But relationship requires 2 or more than 2. Teacher requires students. Father means that there is a son. Or a president means that there is a company or a country of which he or she is the president. So it requires more than one to have a relationship. A relationship must be between multiple terms. But Brahman is non-dual. There is not two. If there is not two, how can you have a relation? How can the ultimate reality, with what will it have a relationship? So you cannot use relation to indicate Brahman. Well, finally we have one more option, last option, which we often use, that is convention, rudhi. What is convention? When you name somebody, you call this person John or Smith, not because of that he belongs to the class of John or the function of John or the quality of John. No, just it's a name, it's convention. From today, this baby will be called John. That baby will be called Jane or whatever. You give a name by convention. Just we decide this person is going to be called that. Can't we do that for the ultimate reality? Let's just call it Brahman or God or something like that. Well, even that won't work. That won't work. Why won't that work? Because when you say this person is called John, what do you have to do? You have to point out that person. Otherwise it's meaningless. This person is John. If I say, call John, and immediately your question will be, which one is John? You have to point it out. Well, you cannot point out Brahman. You cannot point out the ultimate reality. It cannot be seen with the eyes. It cannot be heard with the ears. It's not perceptible. You cannot infer it. So how can you point it out? So convention also will not work. All the 5 factors which language depends upon, class, quality, action, relationship, or just by convention, none of them will work in the case of Brahman, the ultimate reality. And hence, Shankaracharya says, Shabda pravritti nimitta rahitatvat, because it is Brahman, the ultimate reality, is devoid of those factors which enable you to use language. Because it is devoid of those factors, you cannot use language. Isn't this a wonderful analysis? It shows you, it shows us, it gives us an answer to that question if you persist in asking. Why can we not use language? Most people don't ask this. They are awed because the guru, the swami, or the mystic or the lama says, it is beyond language, don't ask any further. And we say, okay, we are suitably awed, we don't ask that question. But if you do ask that question, why is the ultimate reality, the transcendent beyond language? Because of this. Because it lacks these 5 factors. It is not limited by any of these 5 factors. Hence, you cannot use language. But here is a problem. What is the problem? The problem is Vedanta or any scripture. Scriptures are words. Scriptures are language. And they have to express Brahman. You can't just say it's impossible to express Brahman through language. Now, how does the scripture, the teacher, the guru, the swami, the lama, the reverend father, whoever it is, how can you express it without language? You have to express it through language. And so, you have to express it. How do you do that? Well, as it turns out, there are some rather clever ways of going around the problem, bypassing the problem. You can actually express something about Brahman. You can express the inexpressible. How do you do that? And that's very interesting, how they do that. There are different strategies. Let me just set it out before you before we concentrate on one of them. How do you express the inexpressible? Well, first of all, there is, of course, silence. We will not consider that, but let me just set it out there. In one of Shankaracharya's hymns, it is there, the guru is young, the students are old. The guru is silent, and the students' doubts are dispelled. The guru sits under a banyan tree. So there's a beautiful verse, and I personally feel he is talking about himself. He was just 16 years old, and his disciples were mostly all older than him. And he was sitting under the banyan tree and teaching the highest philosophy. So that verse beautifully describes that setting. Anyhow, the teaching was in silence. The teaching, maunam vyakhyanam. Teaching in silence. Now, however great that might be, it will not work. First of all, that will be the end of the Sunday lectures. You might be profoundly impressed the first time, but second time you will not come. You will have better things to do. There's a saying, when I ask you a question and you are silent. The first time you are silent, I think, well, he's profound. The second time you are silent, I'll think maybe he's shy. The third time you are silent, I'll know that you don't have anything to say. You don't have anything worth saying. So silence, though it might be profound, it will not serve our purpose. But there are other ways, luckily. What are the ways? In brief, let me touch upon them before going into our subject, which is paradox. One way is called the via negativa, the apophatic method. Neti neti, not this, not this. In the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, we find Brahman defined as not this, not this. What does it mean, not this and not this? Why twice? We cannot express Brahman in language. The first reaction will be, so it doesn't exist. So there is no Brahman. First not is there. No, it is not that Brahman does not exist. It is not that Brahman does not exist. Not this, first one. So Brahman does exist. Which one is Brahman here? Or what is Brahman? Not this, the second one. Second, not this means it is not a thing which exists. Let me repeat that. It is not that Brahman does not exist. One. Be sure that Brahman exists. Now our immediate mistake. The first mistake is, oh, there is no such thing as Brahman, God, Atman. No, that is corrected by the first not this. It does exist. Now we fall immediately into the second mistake. What is the second mistake? We think Brahman is a thing which exists. Naturally, what else will you think? Not that. It is not a thing which exists. It's like this. It's nothing very puzzling. It's like when I say gold and ornaments. First, not this is, it's not that gold does not exist. There is something called gold. Fine. Then you look, which one is gold? Not this. Not that the bangle is gold, not that necklace is gold, not that the ring is gold. An ornament is not gold. In fact, gold is the essence, the reality of each of these ornaments. In the same way, Brahman is not a thing which exists. Rather, it is the existence of all things. It is the being itself. It is existence itself. Swami Vivekananda puts it very beautifully. He says, Brahman is, it's not that Brahman exists, but it is existence itself. It's not that Brahman is a particular kind of knowledge, but it is knowledge itself. It's not that Brahman is happy, it is happiness itself. So, to indicate that, the negative method is used. Not this, not this. I remember I had an interesting experience. About 7 or 8 years ago, there was an interfaith conference, and there were Buddhist lamas. Now, Buddhism is entirely based on the negative approach. Not this, not this. So there were the Buddhist lamas, and in the breakfast table in the morning, we were all sitting. I was there, and about half a dozen lamas. Only one of them spoke English, and the others spoke only Tibetan. So that lama acted as an interpreter. And one of them was the teacher. And the teacher asked a question in Tibetan. The interpretation was, our teacher is asking, tell us about Brahman. Let's hear it. Now, whichever positive description I gave about Brahman is existence, consciousness, bliss, and they would go, no. Brahman is infinite consciousness and infinite reality, infinite asatyam jnanam anantam brahma. Truth and knowledge, infinity is Brahman. No. Then I changed tack. And I said, Brahman is not this, not this. I can't make it up. I have to give exact quotations from the scripture. They are very knowledgeable. So, Brahman is not this, not this. And they go into a huddle, like the football players, like this. They went into a huddle and they discussed something in Tibetan, then looked around, they're all smiles. And the interpreter said, our teacher says, you can be good Buddhist Lama. You come to our you come to our monastery. Not this, not this. That is the negative approach. When the Buddha was asked, is there a permanent self? Remember, the Buddhists don't believe in a permanent self. So is it against Vedanta? When the Buddha was asked, is there a permanent self? He said, have I said that there is a permanent self? And he said, oh, so there is no permanent self. Have I said that there is no permanent self? Correct. Not this, not this. That's one approach. Another approach is what we call in Sanskrit lakshana, implied meaning. Implied meaning. I'll just touch upon it. When you take a person, say Mr. Kumar, you met him in India and now you see him today in Hollywood. India and Hollywood are different. You met him when he was a young person, now he's an old person. You met him when he was maybe fit and now he's obese. And you met him when he had a full head of hair, now he's bald. Now when you say, he's the same Mr. Kumar, I can ask you, how is he same? India, Hollywood, past, present, young, old, full head of hair, bald. So different. How is he the same? You will say, oh, don't you understand? It's very simple. Forget those characteristics. The person is the same. In the same way, you're taking the implied meaning. You're leaving everything else aside, just taking the implied meaning. In the same way, when in Upanishads you say, Tat Tvam Asi, that thou art, you are Brahman. Upanishads say that. That's a famous statement of the Upanishads. You are God. Now what is meant there is, you leave the incidental characteristics aside. God is all-powerful. You are not powerful. God is all-knowing. You've forgotten what you ate yesterday. God is vast and you are little, no matter how big you may be. You're still very little compared to God. And in all ways you're different from God. But leave all of that aside. It is the same consciousness in Vedanta with the what we call the upadhi, the power of Maya is called God, and with the upadhi of an individual body and mind is called you. It's the one and the same consciousness. So this is called the method of lakshana, implied meaning. Leave out the other characteristics, take the essence, you will find it's one and the same. That's one more way the Upanishads work. That's the way to understand that thou art, you are God, or aham brahmasmi, I am Brahman. How? In that way. There is another way, the way of incidental characteristics, tatastha lakshana. How does that work? It works like this. Your friend points out his apartment to you. Look there among all those apartments, that's my apartment, the one on which the crow is sitting. The one on which the crow is sitting. Now the crow is not a part of the apartment. It's not a permanent fixture of the apartment. It just happens to be sitting there at that moment. And next moment it flies away. But its job is done. Now you know among all the similar looking apartments which one belongs to your friend. It was used to point out the apartment. In the same way, the world which is an appearance is not an essential characteristic of Brahman. But the world, Brahman, is pointed out as the creator of this world, as the preserver of this world, and that into which the world finally disappears. The world has ultimately nothing to do with Brahman. It is not even real according to Advaita Vedanta. But using it just like a crow sitting on an apartment, this world which we are aware of, using this to point out the ultimate reality. This is a way how it works. I know it sounds a bit confusing, but I'm just setting it out here to complete the record. So this is one way of expressing something which cannot be directly expressed. Tatastha lakshana, by incidental characteristics. Now, the last method is the one which we are interested in today, the way of paradox, where you play off seemingly opposite characteristics and see how you catch what Brahman is. What cannot be expressed has to be caught intuitively. How does that work? Let's see. The whole idea in Advaita Vedanta, non-dual Vedanta, is Brahman is ever present, always present, was there, is there, will always be there. If something is ever present, it must be present now. Brahman is all pervasive. If that which is all pervasive, which is everywhere, if it is everywhere, it must be here. There is no thing in this universe which is different from Brahman. I'm using very technical and precise language. There's nothing in this universe which is different, separate from Brahman. If nothing is separate from Brahman, then you or I or this thing, all of these, they must be in some sense Brahman. It must be here, in these objects. So, Brahman must be here, it must be now, it must be in every object. If that is so, then why don't we see Brahman? Or at least realize Brahman, experience Brahman, if it's here, now, in everything. But we do not see Brahman neither now nor ever. Neither here nor there. Not in this object or any other object. We don't see it at all. Why not? And Advaita Vedanta answers this one word. Avidya, ignorance. Ignorance. Just because of ignorance. Nothing else. It is here, we don't see it. We don't get it. All that we need is the insight. All that we need is the correction of ignorance. Shankaracharya, when he explains, why does Krishna say the wise person sees action in inaction and inaction in action? Why? Shankaracharya says, Viparjaya nivrityartham bhagavato vachanam. The Lord speaks thus in riddles, in paradox. For what? In order to correct error. In order to correct error. When I cross the Ganges from the Calcutta side to the main monastery in Belur Math in Calcutta, when I cross the river, sometimes a strange thing happens. And we have all seen this when crossing a river. You're moving in a boat across the river, suddenly you see the opposite bank moving. It's an illusion. I suddenly see the monastery, the temples and the trees and those are moving and I'm still. And the boat is still and those are moving. Actually, what has happened? It's an error. It is the movement of the boat which is being superimposed on the unmoving bank of the river. So the bank seems to start moving. If you have traveled by trains, in this country you don't travel much by trains, but sometimes it happens. It seems like you are standing still and everything else outside is moving. It's an illusion. I have seen that happening when I cross the river. And imagine how thrilled I was when I read Shankaracharya's commentary on this verse, written 14 centuries ago. He says, when you cross a river on a boat, suddenly, exactly this language, suddenly the trees and the bank of the river start moving. It's an error. It's the movement of the boat which is being superimposed on the unmoving bank. In the same way, the actions of the body, of speech and thought are being superimposed upon the unmoving, unchanging, pure consciousness which is you. You say, I am speaking. You are not. It is the body and the mind and the organ of speech which is speaking. You are the consciousness which illumines this and enables this to happen. You are not speaking. But it feels like I am speaking. I am walking. I am thinking. I am happy. I am unhappy. Happiness, unhappiness are in the mind. I am fat. I need to get thin. Fat or thin is in the body. It's superimposed upon the self. The self is unchanging consciousness. Pure consciousness illumining the body and mind, completely devoid of change or increase or decrease or action, and all of that is superimposed upon you, the witness self, just like the action of the movement of the boat is superimposed somehow on the unmoving bank of the river, on the unmoving temple or the trees. And Shankaracharya uses this. It's brilliant. When I gave the talk in London last year, I'd taken a picture of Belur Math from the boat. So that was the only picture I used in a slide. It was up there. And so people did not know why that picture is there of a river. They didn't even know what it was. A river and a boat and temples and trees. It's only when I came to this point and I pointed at the picture. This is what happens. So, the unmoving, the unchanging pure consciousness appears to be changing. That consciousness which is the illuminer of both happiness and misery in the mind appears to be happy or unhappy. The completely inactive or the unchanging pure consciousness appears to be doing work. And hence, what happens is, what do we understand from this? Even in the midst of action, when you are doing all sorts of action with the body, when you may be speaking, when you may be working with your hands or walking or driving, when you may be thinking intensely, all of that is going on. The understanding, the insight is you are completely untouched and unaffected by this. Now we understand when Swami Vivekananda says the ideal of Vedanta is eternal peace in the midst of intense action. Eternal peace in the midst of intense action. And he gives an example. In the Gita, in the midst of terrible action, a war, a civil war, Krishna is holding the reins of the chariot, of the horses in the chariot, and 5 raging horses. They stand for the sense organs. In the midst of a battlefield, and Vivekananda points out, you look at the smile on the face of Krishna. In the midst of terrible action on this battlefield of life, in the midst of our lives, whatever they may be, let this action go on. In the midst of that, see the inaction, the eternal calm in the midst of intense action. You see, what happens is that we think that peace means keeping quiet, sitting quietly in a cave. That is peaceful. And busy means 101 out there. What Vivekananda tells us is intense action at the level of the body, at the level of speech and mind also. You can work. Even the mind can think. Even people think that yes, I may work, but the mind should remain calm because you are identified with the mind. You are identified with the mind. That's why you think when the mind is calm, I am calm. Let the mind work. Let it do intense work. Let it think intensely. At the same time, you can be completely calm. It's like this. There is the 101 outside and the Vedanta temple here. On the outside, intense activity. Here, the highest Advaita, non-dual philosophy. This is the ideal. This is the insight that we get. And therefore, Krishna says, the wise person understands where there is apparently a lot of action. You're living your life as it should be led. You're completely unaffected by it. Peaceful. Eternally peaceful within it. It's possible. It's possible right now. All you have to do is recognize the real you, which is eternally untouched. In the temple of Shiva in Benares. Where did I see it? Yeah, I think I saw it in Benares. When you enter the temple, in one of the gates, there is a small image, what is called Sakshi Vinayaka, of Ganesha, the elephant-headed god, Sakshi Vinayaka. Now the little Ganesha is a cute little Ganesha and very ancient. All it does is watch. It's been watching for centuries. It's been watching for millennia. That Sakshi Vinayaka is a symbol of the consciousness within us. Don't even say my consciousness. Say I, the witness. I, the witness of the world. I, the witness of this body, from babyhood to middle age to old age, to the time the body drops off. I am the witness. I, the witness of the mind in this waking state. I, the witness of the dreaming mind. I, the witness of the mind in deep sleep or coma or whatever. I, the unchanging witness. Vidyaranya writes beautifully, Masadda yuga kalpeshu gata gamyeshu nekada naudeti nastameti samvid esha swayam prabha. He says beautifully, this self-effulgent sun of consciousness, it neither rises nor sets. Days revolve, weeks and months, years go past, our life draws to an end, and new lives begin. The sun of consciousness neither rises nor sets. It's one and unchanging. The wise person sees this. The wise person sees this and thus is not ruffled by anything in life. As the law of karma, as causes we have set in motion, we will get the effects. None escape the law. The effects will come to our lives. But you are completely untouched. Swami Vivekananda says, good, good. Bad, bad. and none escape the none escape the law. Good, good, bad, bad. Whatever we have done, we will get those results. But he says, whosoever wears a form, a particular body, wears the chain too. This body has been produced by karma. It will give results, good and bad. But then he says, so where is freedom? He says, but the Atman beyond, but far beyond is Atman ever free. Know thou art that. Thou art that. When? After spiritual practice and after samadhi? No, just now. Spiritual practice and samadhi and all those things may help you to recognize it and be enlightened about it. But the truth is that we are that just now. So this language of paradox, it helps us to know what we really are. When they say that God is within, it's okay, God is within. But if you really think about it, what is within? Within the skin? So God is within means like my kidney or my lungs or my heart, so there's something called God within? Not likely. Okay, within my mind, does it mean that? But if you look at the mind, you have thoughts, emotions, memories. Which one is God? Then what do you mean within? What do you mean by within? It is this it is this language of contradiction, language of paradox, which points out to us, helps us to catch what is meant by within. When he says, it is different from the known and different from the unknown. What does he mean? Imagine everything that you know. Imagine everything that we know individually and as a human race. All subjects, everything that we see, hear, smell, all of that, set it aside. The Atman, Brahman, the ultimate reality is none of these. And there's so many things that we do not know. Set that aside also. Atman, Brahman is not that. Then what remains? You say nothing, but he said no, not nothing. What remains? The answer will be, children often get it very quickly. The answer is you yourself. You see, you are the knower. What is known can be in one part of the set of knowables can be divided into what you know and what you do not know. But the knower is apart from this. The knower is apart from what is known and what is unknown. The knower himself or herself, that consciousness. If you eliminate from yourself whatever you know as an object, you've got it. Whatever you know as an object. Here is another exercise. Whatever does not stay with you in the state of deep sleep is not you, or nor is it yours. When you go into deep sleep, and Vedanta is a powerful way of going into deep sleep. I'm joking. When you go into deep sleep, what does not stay with you? The world does not stay with you. Your most beloved person does not stay with you. Your most hated enemy does not stay with you. Your desires do not stay with you. Your body does not stay with you. Your illnesses do not stay with you. As I say sometimes, the sickest person in the world, in the ICU, in a hospital and dying, has absolutely no problem when he or she is in deep sleep. In deep sleep, that person has no problem. Subjectively. The body is dying, but subjectively. So what does not go with you, it does not belong to you in deep sleep. Your thoughts, your memories, your most precious memories, your traumas, your desires, your guilt, your personality, your knowledge so assiduously cultivated over the years, all of that is not there in deep sleep. That is not you. What is there? It's not an object. You cannot get it as an object. If you look for an object in deep sleep, you will find only blankness. Nothing. But there is an infinite consciousness shining upon that blankness. We are not aware of it. A Christian mystic puts it so beautifully. He says the darkness of space outside is actually full of light. Sunlight streaming through space. It's only when a spaceship or a meteorite passes through it, you can see it shining. If there's nothing to be reflected, full of light, it looks black. You are that light shining in the darkness. There's this great Swami who passed away many years ago, but he wrote a poem in Malayalam, in the language in Kerala. And the title of the poem is Sunrise at midnight. Just the title shows the person was enlightened. Just the title of the poem. Sunrise at midnight. Midnight, deep sleep. Absolutely, world, body, mind, everything have disappeared. And yet the sun is blazing forth. For us, the sun does not blaze forth because our attention is turned outwards. So, I'll leave you with this little exercise. And then I have a surprise for you afterwards, a real big surprise. But first, a little exercise. The exercise goes like this. This is from the Ashtavakra. I will not give you the original verses, but the exercise themselves. Three exercises. First, imagine yourself to be the sky. The blue sky, vast blue sky. Sky without earth. It's actually a mystic song from Kabir. Bin dharti ke gagan rishe. A sky without earth. In that sky is a little pot made of clay. That is the universe, the world. Including your own body and mind, your life, your everything. Everything is in that little pot. You are the vast sky in which the little pot appears. Now your attitude to that little pot, your life and the world is natyago graha nal graho laya. You do not have to discard it. You don't have to get rid of it. Why should you get rid of it? You don't have to accept it. It's mine, I have to hold on to it, do something about it. No. You don't even have to merge it. This idea they have to merge it in Brahman. If everything becomes one with Brahman, there's no desire, need to merge it also. Let it be. Think about it. One. Now go deeper. Next stage. Imagine yourself to be a vast ocean, the ocean of consciousness. And this universe, this world, your own body and life and everything are like waves in this ocean. Whatever has happened in your life, these are like waves in that ocean. You are the ocean. Your entire life and the lives of everybody, they are just waves in the ocean that you are. And what is your attitude? What is the attitude of the ocean to the wave? Na graho na tyago na laya. The ocean does not want to discard, give up the wave. Ridiculous. How can you? It's you yourself. You can't give it up. The ocean doesn't feel I have to accept it and embrace it. No. The ocean doesn't even feel I have to somehow merge, push the wave back into myself. No. Let the waves come. It's your glory and your power. The wave of this life which has arisen, your life, it's your glory and power. It will go away one day, but it will go away back into you. You will not lose it. You can never lose it. You can never lose a single thing in this place. You can never lose a single person. You can never lose your life, nothing. It all merges back into you. You don't have to merge it back. It's there. And you are it. How is it different from the first one? The pot is at least different from the sky in some respect. Though it's insignificant, but it's a pot and it's a sky. The wave is not different from the ocean. Let's go even deeper. The last exercise. They use the nacre and silver, but that's not very obvious to people in America. Let me use this rope and the snake. Imagine that you are the mirror and the reflected city. Okay, you are the mirror in which a city is reflected, the universe. There's no universe outside, it's just in the mirror, a reflection. And you realize that you are the mirror only. In you, the city of this world and your life just appears. The wave at least is real. It's something that happens in the ocean, a wave. Here it's not even real. The mirror alone exists. In the mirror you see buildings and roads and people and freeways. None of it is there. It's just a mirror. In the same way, you are the mirror of consciousness. Vishwam darpana drishyamana nagari tulyam. Shankaracharya says in Dakshinamurti Stotram, the universe is like a city seen in the mirror of consciousness. So this entire universe is an appearance, not even a wave, it's an appearance within yourself. And what do you have to do? Natyago nagraho laya. You don't have to give it up. Mirror is not bothered. Suppose there's an explosion and you can see fire and everything in the mirror does not get hotter by 1 degree. The greatest of disasters can be reflected in the mirror. It does not affect the mirror. You're completely unaffected. Na graho, you don't have to accept it. Na laya. Mirror doesn't say that, let the reflections disappear, I'm being disturbed by the reflection. Reflections do not disturb the mirror. In the same way, you have neither rejection of the world, nor do you have to make an effort to accept it, nor merge it within yourself. It just appears within you. So these are 3 exercises. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.